Okay, we touched on it a second, and Trey, you'll go first on this, and we'll flip-flop. As Waller County Judge, how do you plan to approach the Waller County landfill project?
Well, as you know, right now the Waller County landfill is in litigation. We have a trial date set on December 1st. The city of Hempstead has filed a lawsuit against the county and Green Group. Part of that lawsuit alleges that the current landfill ordinance violates the city of Hempstead's ETJ. In my personal opinion, I think the city of Hempstead actually has a very good argument. So what I'm concerned about if I'm elected and I take office and that lawsuit has happened and that landfill ordinance has been invalidated, what is our plan B? What do we have as a safety net? Because a lot of people say, well, that's the ordinance that's protecting all of Waller County. Well, unless you live next to the landfill, in which case you feel like you got thrown under the bus. But if that landfill, that ordinance gets invalidated by the court, which I think it probably will, then we are wide open again. So again, going back to getting to work immediately on that waste management plan is absolutely vital. And I will say this, I don't believe that the current landfill ordinance or the host agreement, I'm not a believer that those were done and were consistent with the principles of open meetings and open government. And the reason I say that is because how can you have a host agreement that is 20 plus pages, that is extensive, that comes in and Commissioners Court comes in and votes on it, and there's no public discussion? So we've got to redo that. We've got to start over. There should be public input. There should be public hearings. We need to have those discussions. They're not going to be easy, but we have to have them. Where are we going to put these type of facilities in this county? Where can you? Have we even gotten the good science yet? Has anybody done the studies to actually tell you where you can and cannot put one in this county? I haven't seen it. So that's what I would do if I'm elected. Thank you.
Thank you, Trey. Cedillo, how do you plan to approach the Waller County landfill project?
I plan to approach the landfill issue as practically as one can in elected office. When there's litigation going on, when you've got a host agreement, when you've got an ordinance, and all of these issues are being challenged in one way or another. I think that experience from having been involved in some of those issues tells me that for sure we have to be ready for a loss. A loss means that the ordinance is invalidated. And one of the things that I want you to know is that the legal counsel for Waller County happens to be Allison Bass, which is one of the best firms in the state of Texas when it comes to representing county government. In addition to that, one of the things I would absolutely do is work with the Texas Association of Counties, because this problem, while it is unique, it is not absolute in terms of how other counties have had to respond to issues that are unpopular. I think that's incredibly important. The other agency that I think that the county needs to work with is the Houston-Galveston Area Council, which has a lot to do with waste management issues in the respective counties that they serve. And I think going to knowledgeable sources, in addition to working with the requisite professors at Prairie View A&M who can help us, because that university is a gold mine with regard to information and resources. I think that's incredibly important. We've got to be prepared. We've got to have open and honest discussions with the public for sure. We've got to work within the parameters. The next judge has to work within the parameters of the fact that there's litigation going on. And I know from experience that you can't just constantly be talking about it. You will have to wait until the process is over. Why? Because that's part of the litigation process. That's a natural part of that. And being a licensed attorney and having worked on cases, that is how it is. That is how it is. It's not very popular. It's not very popular. But that's the truth. That's the truth. And I know we have school board people in here, and sometimes you just have to stay quiet. For sure you can plan. I would like to be able to ask the most experienced people in Texas and go beyond the borders of Texas to work with people who can give us the best advice so that we can definitely plan to deal with any kind of outcome to that lawsuit. With regard to the host agreement, it's a 58-page agreement. And I'm going to tell you, just practically speaking, and looking at that host agreement, the covenants, the promises of that host agreement are some of the best, I think, that you could ever want for a county that has to be involved in a landfill process, that has to have a landfill here. That is a 30-year agreement that Green Group, the Pintail folks would honor for 30 years. What does that mean? It means library services, it means scholarships for Prairie View A&M, it means a full-time grant writer. There are all kinds of promises that I wouldn't just want to wipe off the table and say, let's start over. Because I don't think Pintail Landfill would agree to do that. That's cutting off your nose to spite your face. And that's what experience tells you. Let's keep the brakes on for a little while here. Let's figure out how that litigation is going to go. Let's understand that whatever happens in the trial process will also mean appellate process, which can also take a long time, a long time. And so for sure, we want to have the best information. We want the public to have the best information that the officials can give. And I understand that that is a huge healing part of Waller County and the next county judge. The job of the county judge is to help heal Waller County over all the breaches of trust, whether they exist or whether they don't exist. That's a big part of it. And so while we're planning for what can happen, that's the other part of this process, is to work on healing Waller County so that we can communicate effectively, whether it's electronically, whether it's in person, whether it's through government meetings. That's important. And I really believe that that's what we need to be doing with regard to the landfill. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Cedillo. On to our third question, and Ms. Cedillo, you'll get this one to begin. Y'all both touched on this already. However, as Waller County Judge, what is your plan to prepare Waller County for the pending residential and commercial growth?
I think we have to make sure that we work with as many stakeholders as possible, that the county judge has access to the best information, that we know how Waller County is developing, that we keep open lines of communication with the developers. Also, when I say developers, I'm talking about the home builders for starters, but also that we make sure that we have a good, strong, effective, Waller County Economic Development Partnership, so that we have people who know business and who know how to encourage and attract business to Waller County, so that we can certainly have a good, strong tax base. I'm going to keep it simple. It's all about making sure that we are informed, the public is informed, that we share that information, and that we understand how growth of any kind will affect mobility needs as well as the environmental needs of this county. Because we all know that water is precious. It is like gold. It is like gold. And I want to make sure that what we do as government officials doesn't impact anything that will cause health issues, that will cause us to suffer with regard to water or air quality or land quality. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cedillo. Mr. Duhon, same to you. How do you plan to prepare for Waller County for the pending residential and commercial growth?
A lot of work. A lot of work. In order to prepare this county for all the growth that's going to be coming in, there are so many aspects to it, it's hard to know really where to begin. We can talk about emergency management. Waller County has experienced 2 major natural disasters just within the last 10 years, hurricane, tri-county wildfires. Obviously, it's imperative that we always update and revise our emergency management plans, that we always are prepared for anything that may happen. Water planning is essential. We saw just recently with the water well issue here in the south of the county, water rights is going to continue to be an ongoing issue. We have to work with all the stakeholders, Blue Bonnet, Groundwater Conservation District, to make sure we have adequate water supplies for all of the growth that's going to come here. If we've got somebody taking 20 million gallons a day and taking it to Fort Bend County, what's going to happen when our neighborhoods come in and we need that water? Mobility is going to be huge. You cannot have growth without some type of mobility. Right now, we have 2 FM roads that get you from the north to the south into the county. We all know when those neighborhoods come in and those retail follows those neighborhoods, what's going to happen to those FM roads? They're not going to be straight shot thoroughfares for very long. There's going to be lights. People are going to say, well, maybe we need to expand them, widen them. I've seen FM in 1960. Okay? I don't think that's the solution for Waller County. So mobility, there's going to be probably a long-term solution we're going to need for mobility from the north to the south into the county. But I will tell you something. Having worked and fought the Trans-Texas Corridor for 3 years, TxDOT learned one thing from that. You want to have an effective mobility plan, you get local input. You build it with local input. That's what they learned after the TTC. So that is going to be essential in this process. And let me talk about this growth. When you talk about partnerships, all of the growth, there's going to be a right kind of growth and the wrong kind of growth. The right kind of growth is going to be nice residential, good retail, good employers that expand our tax base and provide good, high-paying jobs for our kids. Okay? That starts with the schools. The partnership between our county and the schools is essential, because if the schools aren't doing their job, you don't get the nice residential. And if you don't get the nice residential, you don't get the retail. And if you don't have those, you're not going to get the employers with the good-paying jobs. You're going to get the industry with the low-paying jobs, and you're going to get what comes with that, which is not going to be nice neighborhoods. It's going to be, trailer parks. And what does that do for our property values? What does it do for your tax base? So it is essential that we all work together to make sure the right kind of growth comes in. We give the right kind of incentives. And let me say this, the current Commissioner's Court has done an excellent job of that. Goya, Medline. You look at these companies that are coming in here, that is helping to expand our tax base. $252 million this year. 150 plus of that was new improvements. That's essential. That produces another $2 to $3 million in tax revenue. We need that money. We might need that money to pay for facilities. So, anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duhon.